Petrified Forest is a great national park if you're short on time.
It's easy to navigate by car, it's right off the interstate, and it combines so many different elements into one small footprint. We're Howard and Katelyn Newstate. This year, we're traveling to 51 parks in 52 weeks. We're visiting all the U.S. national parks in the lower 48 in a special Winnebago Vista limited edition. Each week, we're sharing where to stay, what to do, and introducing you to the people doing incredible work across our national parks. Petrified Forest certainly has a lot going for it. It's one of the most dog-friendly national parks, it's very easy to navigate, most of the main attractions like Petrified Wood and the Painted Desert are easily accessible, and a lot of the main trails are even paved. We met up with one of their rock star volunteers, James Edwards, to help us give you the lay of the land.
It's one of the few national parks that dogs can go on all the trails. And I say dogs, I really mean animals, because you can bring anything you want. We've had a number of people bring birds. We've had a turtle here. Yeah, you can bring anything. But we do have Bach Ranger, so we're really friendly. So Crystal Forest is our #1 attraction. And that's where it's a trail, 3/4 of a mile through a whole field of petrified wood. You walk right up to it. You can take pictures, sit on it, and everything.
There are 2 entrances and 2 visitor centers here at the park. The north entrance is off of I-40. The south entrance is off of Highway 180.
It's 28 miles to drive through the park. It takes 45 minutes to drive.
If you're not stopping and...
Exactly. You got to stop and do hikes. There's hikes throughout the park. Most of them are paved walkways, so you don't have to worry about climbing or mud or anything like that. They're pretty gentle.
So this is a very approachable national park.
Yes, it's set up real well. So Route 66 through the park, this is the only national park that it went through. It's decommissioned at this time, but we do have a 1932 Studebaker for photo ops, as well as some telephone poles showing you where the road was.
The park opens at 8 a.m. and does close at 5 p.m., but as long as you're through the gates by that time, you can stay and explore until 7 p.m. There are no camping accommodations inside the park, but we stayed for free in the south, literally right outside the park's entrance. The Crystal Forest Campground offers free boondocking in their lot. If you do need electric hookups, there are paid sites across the street. We spent about a day and a half exploring Petrified Forest, so whether you're just passing through or you can stay a while, you'll have plenty to see and do. For today's episode, we're going to start in the south, then pop out of the park to show you where you can grab a delicious bite to eat before continuing to the north and then completing the loop back to our campsite in the south. The visitor center in the south is home to the historic Rainbow Forest Museum, the original park headquarters, where you can step back in time and learn about the park's animal and geological history. Well, in addition to learning a lot, it was also a very successful shopping trip because we got a couple of magnets, we got our sticker for our stamp book, and then we also got this really cute Bark Ranger dog toy and a Bark Ranger bandana. I'm really excited to give these to the dogs.
We also just finished watching the park film, and I have to say this is probably the greatest park film I have ever seen. The footage is absolutely incredible. The storytelling is fantastic. They take you behind the scenes with the park archaeologists and other specialists to really share the history, the wildlife, and what makes this place so special. It's a must view, in my opinion. It's 20 minutes long, and it's free.
Well, Scout is very excited. All right, ready for an adventure? Okay, let's go. We're gonna take the trail out to the Agate house, which is a reconstructed pueblo made entirely of petrified wood. So what is petrified wood and how did it all get here? About 200 million years ago, this landscape was vastly different, with tall trees and flowing water. As the trees fell, they were buried in sediment along the river, but instead of decomposing, something else sort of magical happened to these trees thanks to minerals and a lack of oxygen. The fallen trees absorbed all those minerals, and over thousands of years, they eventually crystallized, replacing the organic wood material. What was left behind is what we see today, colorful quartz and amethyst in a tree-like form. As the rivers and swampy areas dried up, the trees eventually made their way back to see the light of day. And what we're looking at isn't wood at all, even though it really does look like it. These are fossilized remnants of ancient trees that used to dot this landscape. The bark of it looks so cool because it does look just like a tree. Oh, you can really see colors in this one. And that one is huge. James told us that green is the most rare color, and I found some right there. It's so neat because there are super high concentrations of petrified wood in certain areas. This is one of those spots. There's just tons of it here. And it's not like it was brought here. This is where the earth has actually revealed it from its final resting place.
Well, from my perspective, this is a must-do if you are here at Petrified Forest. In just over a mile, you are at the Agate House. There's tons of petrified wood everywhere along this hike. It's mostly paved until the end, so it's pretty easy and approachable for almost anybody. Katelyn, what'd you find?
So here on the sign about the Agate House is a photo of the Civil Works Administration in 1934 reconstructing the remnants of this house. But it says that today they often do not do that because when they find structures, they want to leave them as is so that they can study them. I don't know if Scout is as impressed as us. Very important that you put it back though, so that other people can enjoy it. Because if everybody took a piece, there'd be no pieces.
We're here at the Giant Logs Trail. There is a guide for it and there are markers. So you can learn all about petrified wood and see some of the largest petrified trees in the entire park. So cool. Look, it's a knot. So neat because, like, yes, it's quartz, but it almost looks like they're fake. It's like fake trees because they still have the knots. In some cases, they still have the texture of bark. It looks like a real tree, but it's stone, it's rock.
No, it really is like a mind game.
Look at that.
What do we got here?
This is Old Faithful. While it may not be the largest, it's one of the largest petrified trees in the entire park. It measures almost 35 feet long. It's almost 44 tons. As you can see, it's been glued back together. That's because in 1962, it was struck by lightning.
As we mentioned, we turned our day at the park into a loop drive, so we headed out of the south and needed a bite to eat before exploring the north. As we drove through Holbrook, we stopped at Studio 66, a funky diner slash coffee shop slash bakery. They have a mix of sandwiches, loaded hot dogs, and my favorite, their freak shakes, a monster of a milkshake. We got the Oreo Nutella with a full ice cream bar, wafers, and a Hershey bar stuck in the top. It certainly satisfied my sweet tooth. Next, we headed to the north entrance of Petrified Forest with a stop at the Visitor Center.
So if you walk around the corner from the Visitor Center on the north side, there's a paleontologist who is actually preparing fossils live. And he's kind of like almost on display because he's behind glass, but they have a little microphone set up so that way he can talk to us and we can hear him. It's really cool to actually see someone working live on the fossils. So we're doing one of our favorite things, which is an audio tour. And this time we're trying a completely different company. This is a Shaka tour, like Shaka, like Hawaii, because I guess the company got its start in Hawaii. I highly recommend audio tours. It's like having a tour guide in your vehicle. We've done them all across the country, heck, all around the world. Can't recommend them enough. This one was $10.
Together, we'll cruise Route 66. We'll marvel at the painted desert.
Pretty cool, right?
This is incredible. I mean, you can really understand why it is called the Painted Desert. All of the colors are just so vibrant and so magnificent, and there's different layers and different shapes. It is absolutely spectacular. When you come to Petrified Forest, make sure you don't just go to the south to see the petrified wood, but you have to come to the north here to see all of these colors.
Painted Desert is a region, and we're only part of it. So it kind of starts here as crescent shape, and it heads towards Flagstaff, and then goes up towards the border, towards Page. So it's all crescent shaped like that. So we have our own region. Yeah, and that's all the multicolored layers of the sand.
This area of the park is also home to the famous Painted Desert Inn, built almost 100 years ago as a roadside hotel by Herbert David Lohr. Back then, it was known as the Stone Tree House.
That was built in 1924. It's all petrified wood when he built it. He had built it as a wayside for people to stop off Route 66 because there weren't nothing out here. What he was doing is taking people off the back edge, collecting petrified wood, letting them take it home. Well, the park bought it in 1936 away from him, and they redid it. They brought the CCC in and rebuilt the whole place, and they did a massive job. There's a glass ceiling in the main room. All the light fixtures are done by hand by the CCC. It was actually a working inn in the 40s and 50s up until 1962. They had 6 rooms, but once they built I-40, it kind of, took away. Downstairs is a gift shop, and you can go out the back door and turn around and look, and they kept some of the petrified wood exposed. and you got to see that. There's a Harvey lunch counter, and he brought the Harvey girls in there, and there was nowhere to stay, so they actually built in the 40s, built rooms just for Harvey girls.
Oh,
you
wow.
have to stay, and you can walk around the backside and look in the windows. They got a little sink, and that's it. No bathrooms in there at all.
Nothing.
So small.
Only about 150 feet away from the parking lot is Newspaper Rock, which has over 650 petroglyphs dating back to 650 to 1100 AD.
36 tribes have lived here. So when they first got here, there were bison, but they hunted them out. So then they had to grow crops. And what would happen is they would be okay, sustained for a number of years, but then when it would be a drought, they would move on. They didn't really stay in one spot for very long. So another tribe would come in thinking they can do better. The thing with all the petroglyphs is they all added to them. And each tribe has different interpretations.
This might be one of my favorite areas of the park that we have been to yet. Blue Mesa is just so incredible as you walk down. I've never quite seen a landscape like it. It's Badlands, and then you can really see the bluish gray colors of what it's named after. And then there are pieces of petrified wood dotted throughout, and the petrified wood we've seen here is much lighter in color than elsewhere in the park. Blue Mesa is a can't miss trail in our opinion. It's a 1 mile loop and there is a bit of a steep climb down, but again, it's all paved, it's dog friendly, and you can see incredible formations and petrified wood. We spent about an hour leisurely strolling through, and it was a great way to end our time here in this one-of-a-kind national park. On our next episode, it's off for some sandy fun in New Mexico as we revisit White Sands, another dog-friendly and incredibly beautiful park. Come along as we sled, hike, and find great free camping nearby. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week.